Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Puddles, and this is part 3 of my encounter building series, where I talk about simple and easy ways that you can improve your combats. And yeah, here we are. This episode is going to be on making your combats logical, essentially thinking about what the creatures you're using would do in the situation. Making sure that the creatures that you're using make sense in the situation. A lot of the times, just a random table might roll something that wouldn't really fit with what's going on in your campaign, and you can sort of, there's a disbelief there, and it sort of takes you out of the game a little bit. So it's just something to think about. For instance, if you were to run across a unicorn in the forest, would it gouge you with its horn evil styles? No, it would probably either try to get away from you or be nice because it's a lawful good creature. So it's just thinking about what the creatures would do in that situation instead of just saying, oh, this creature is here, everyone roll initiative. And let's just talk about that for a bit. So I've got some creatures here. I picked some of the low-level creatures. I've got some beasties and some humanoids, and I'm just going to talk about them and how you would think they would act in combat. So we'll start with the beasts first, because it's pretty simple with animals, because they don't have the intelligence, they don't do tactics and things like that. So wolves, pack animals. They will usually follow an alpha, so you could have a group of wolves as an encounter. That's definitely a thing that you could do. But would wolves attack a bunch of people around a campfire? Wolves usually are usually avoid campfires. They usually avoid humans. But if they see a chance where there's a weak person straggling behind, maybe they'll pick them off. If your group encounters a giant pack of wolves, they will attack. Will the wolves fight to the last wolf? If you kill a couple of them, will they run away? Will they run away if you kill the pack leader? These are all things that you sort of need to think about. So like wolves, you could have a pack of wolves stalking your party, and they could attack it at an opportune moment. They probably wouldn't attack a bigger group. They would only attack smaller groups. And if they did attack, if a few of them got hurt, they would probably run away. Or if there was magic, it might scare them. Or if there was a loud noise. All these different things that would scare a wolf in the regular world would make sense that it would scare it in your fictional one. Giant spiders. They would probably just hang out on their webs. And if somebody didn't get caught in the web, like a giant spider isn't going to find someone on the road and attack someone's camp. They're going to be sitting in their web. So they could be in a dungeon and someone could obviously stumble upon them and then they attack. But like a giant spider isn't just going to be in the middle of the forest on like a road. Maybe they're in the deeper part of the forest where they've set up their webs and stuff. But it doesn't make sense that a giant spider would be like attacking a camp that is in a well-traveled road. They are not very intelligent, so they wouldn't also necessarily follow tactics or work with other creatures, things like that, unless obviously there's a creature controlling it. But yeah, it's just, it would only really attack if you walked into where it is. Brown bears. So in this scenario, they're probably like your grizzly bears. They can be aggressive. They're very big. They're not really scared of anything. They usually shy away from humans, but if you go into their territory or if you have food in your camp, they can stumble upon it and they're not too scared of you, so they will attack. So brown bears could be an aggressive creature that would walk into a camp and attack the players because of the food that's in their camp, or maybe a brown bear would just try to pick off one of the players and drag it into the woods while they're eating. Whereas black bears are mostly foragers. They go after berries and things like that. Obviously, they'll eat somebody, but they usually eat like things. They're usually eating like fish and berries and smaller animals, they'll eat a human if the human's already dead. But they probably will avoid humans as much as they possibly can. So it's very unlikely that a black bear will attack your party without some real incentive, like maybe it's a mother bear protecting their cubs, things like that. Whereas giant boars are ridiculously territorial. If you go into their territory, they will attack you, even if they don't have the cognitive ability to realize that they're outnumbered. They're just all rage and aggression. So a giant boar will just keep attacking you until either you or it is dead. So if you go into a giant boar territory, you would definitely expect an attack if you run into it. Whereas if you run into a black bear, it might run away. Or if you run into a pack of wolves, maybe you could scare them away. But the giant boar is not going to back down. It's just going to keep ramming into you. And like, I don't know a crazy amount about animals, but this is the basic knowledge that I know about these creatures. And some of it might be wrong, but it's logical to think these things about these creatures in our world. So we may as well move that to this world that we're creating. So that's pretty simple. So you just play the creatures or animals how you would in the real world. But when we come to like humanoids that are like creatures that aren't in our world, how do we play them logically? So obviously in the monster manual it tells you a little bit about all of these creatures. So goblins are smaller. They are pretty nasty. They like to abuse power. They like to make fun of people that they're killing. But they're cowards. They will only attack if they have the advantage. So that's one thing. You would never have a couple of goblins just attack a party unless they thought that they could win. They're also not very smart, so maybe they could miscalculate that. But you would never have two goblins try to kill two humanoids, because they know that they're smaller and weaker. They would only ever attack if they felt that they had the upper hand. And if as soon as a couple of goblins died, they would probably run away because they're cowards. Whereas kobolds, they are also very small, and they fight in packs. They're very good at working together and making traps and mazes and things like that frustrate players. But they also have less, well, at least in my eyes, they have less of a understanding of like individuality, I suppose. Whereas I would say in my fight, if I had, say, 8 goblins and 4 of the goblins died, the other 4 would run away. But if I had 8 kobolds, I would say 6 of them would die before the kobolds ran away, because they don't see, if they're in a pack, they don't see it as like their lives are as valuable as a goblin would see their own lives. And that might be just something that I've read into. But yeah, so I would say goblins and kobolds are very similar, and they would attack if they have the advantage, and they would run away when they're losing. But I feel like goblins would do that earlier. I would say they're more cowardly than kobolds, and kobolds hold their own life less valuable. And so more kobolds will die before they run away. And in some certain situations, I would say you could just kill all the kobolds before any of them run away, because that's the kind of creature that they are. Whereas orcs are very aggressive. They are very strong. They have this like burning rage blood inside them that makes them want to go and fight things. So they would be like, I would say orcs would be likely to fight things that are stronger than them. Whereas goblins and kobolds might not necessarily attack something that they think would beat them. I think orcs would sometimes do that. Not always, but I think it's more likely for orcs. I think orcs are less likely to run away. And I think once combat has started, they're just going to go for the closest thing. The rage and the orc blood is going to take over, and they're just going to go and run at either the creature that would give them the best fight, or the creature that would that they fear would give them the most glory and honor. Well, not honor because they're orcs, but the best fight, you know. Whereas gnolls, who are very similar to orcs, they really want to go in there and kill things. They're like hyenas who just want to taste blood. Gnolls don't care who they're fighting. They just want to kill something. So in my eyes, gnolls would go for the weakest people first. So they're very similar creatures, but the way that they fight and the logic in their backstory and thematics, according to the monster manual, is that they would kill the weakest people first. If they see a mage in the back, they might take attacks of opportunity to kill this weak, squishy character who doesn't have any armor. Or if the players are with a bunch of like villagers, they're going to ignore the players and kill the villagers. Whereas the orcs are going to ignore the villagers and attack the players. And you could have the gnolls run away when a few of them died, but I would say they're the kind of creature that would just keep fighting because they crave blood. They just have this hunger that they want to quench. So I would say they're more likely to fight to the last gnoll. And lastly, we have bandits. So bandits are awesome because you can use them in so many different scenarios. And they're people. So you could be like, if you're a bandit, you don't want to die, and you don't necessarily want to kill people. You just like, what do they want? Most bandits want is like steal stuff, or they're hired killers, or they're just like poor like villagers who had no other option, so now they're bandits. So this poor farmer who is sitting there with a crossbow, his friend just gets stabbed in the eye. What's he going to do? He's totally going to run away. Whereas they could also have, I feel like they would be more lenient to talking with the players and trying to find solutions before combat. So you could have them be on a road and be like, well, if you guys don't give us 100 gold right now, we're gonna kill you. And if the players give them 100 gold or try to persuade them or make them see things in their eyes, then logically there doesn't even need to be a fight at all. And if there was a fight, after a couple of the bandits got killed, they would probably run away. After seeing these badass player characters pull out their weapons and magic, they would be scared. So this is just to think about. A lot of battles you just see like the creatures as like tools, but in a logical world they would have emotions and feelings, and they would be scared, and sometimes they would be enraged or angry, or you just have to think about what those creatures would do in those situations. So this is just a sort of like whether they would run away, what would they initiate with, would they attack things with advantage, things like that. I'll go into more depth in my next video, but yeah, so just think about what the creature is. If you need to, the monster manual has a lot of information on a lot of the different creatures. Just like read what it says there and think, would this creature ambush somebody? Would this creature like stand its ground in a fair fight? Would it fight if it was outnumbered, or would it run away? And it's simple. Like, these are simple things to think about, and it will make your combats way more dynamic, and it will make your world more realistic. If creatures are running away because they're scared, it really makes it more interesting. And obviously there will be combats where they don't run away. But yeah, so that's that. I hope it's been interesting and informative. I will be recording the next video. So this one was just on the basics, on like the concept, I suppose. I'm going to make another video on the tactics. Like, I might pick a couple of these creatures and just do a battle, and I'll show you what I would think their tactics are and what happens in the battle, how they would act. But yeah, thanks again.